Everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a project in Vectric VCarve if you're an absolute beginner. If you haven't watched the first couple of videos in this series, please go back and take a look at those when you get the chance. When we open up our Vectric VCarve software, you'll see that I'm using version 12.0.13. But in this video, the concepts that we'll see here do apply to earlier versions of Vectric, both desktop and pro, as well as Aspire. So when we first open up the software, we look at the left-hand side of our screen, and we have a limited set of menus. We'll look at our startup tasks, and you have the options for creating a new file from template, or open an existing file. In our case, since this is an absolute beginner session, we're going to start with creating a new file. When we open up the software, we'll see that in our job setup, we have the ability to set up single-sided, double-sided, or rotary type jobs. This lesson is going to focus on setting up for a single-sided job. For our job size, you can toggle between millimeters and inches for your size by clicking on the millimeter or inches button and then entering in the appropriate values for your width, which is your X position, which runs from left to right horizontally, or your Y position, which runs from bottom to top, and your thickness of the material, which is your Z-axis. I do recommend, if you don't have one already, get a good caliper so that you can get accurate measurements on your Z thickness. It'll help your spoil board later on down the road. Moving on to our zero position, or Z0 position, we have the material surface, which is most commonly used by folks in the hobby CNC community. This is usually for cutting into projects that are going to cut below the surface of the project, but not necessarily all the way through. And it will be what we use for this demonstration. For our XY datum position, there are 5 positions that you can use. You can use any of the 4 corners of your workpiece, or you can use the center. The most common two are the center and the lower left-hand corner of your workpiece. And typically, I like to start off with my XY datum being in the center, because then this gives us nice little crosshairs to reference our quadrants of our workpiece when we want to position items in there. For your modeling resolution, that has multiple options. You've got standard, which will render projects the fastest, high, which is slower, and very high, which is really slow. These modeling resolutions are specifically for using 2.5D/3D models, and will affect the processing time of how quickly they render on your screen. So if you go with a very high resolution, you need to have a very strong processor in your laptop or PC, wherever you're setting your projects up. For material settings, you have a drop-down box, and you can select multiple types of woods or metals, or just give different colors or textures, which you can add later if you need to. For ours, I'm going to go with walnut color, and then we'll say OK, and we'll see that if we switch over to our 3D tab, we have a walnut color. In your 3D tab, you can use your right mouse button to maneuver the view of the workpiece, or you can come up to the upper right hand corner and you can manipulate the workpiece with this multi-sided die up here. If you click on it, it will center it back on the top. Okay, for our file operations menu, if we need to change our job size, we can simply click on the Set Job Dimensions in Origin, and then you can change your size for your XYZ. You can also reset where you're going to do your Z0 position and your XY datum position. If you've already created a project and you're resizing it to do a larger or smaller cut, you can also click this button to scale design with job size, and it will resize your vectors appropriately to the new size of your material. We'll go ahead and cancel that, and we'll move on to setting up our material. For our material, we need to click, let me go back and show you that again. We need to go up to the upper left hand corner and click the switch to toolpath commands, this little greater than sign, and we can go to our material setup. So here we will set up our thickness. In our case, it's about 1 inch. You can also set your XY datum and your Z0 from here. For model positioning, this is going to be for if you are carving a 3D model. This will set where the model resides within the workpiece. So for thicker models, you might have the gap much larger. For smaller models, you might have it closer to the top. And again, we'll cover that in a different lesson. For our rapid gaps above material, our clearance is the distance that we're going to use to move past any clamps or come out of when we come out of cutting in the workpiece. It'll raise to this distance and then move out. I use 5 millimeters as a default because I use low profile work holding pieces. Our plunge is the position where the bit will rapidly move to plunge into the material, or where it'll start its plunge into the material. I also have that set at 5 to maximize efficiency. So after we have those settings set, we can click on OK, and we can switch back over to our design section, and we are ready to start working with vectors, which will be in our next lesson. Thanks for watching, and again, if you haven't had a chance to look at the first 2 videos in this series, please take a look at those, and here's some other videos I think that you might enjoy from my channel.